Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Miss Gabby. Thanks for coming and joining us for the Cab at Home today. And I'm really excited to show you this project that we're going to be working on using those homemade watercolors that I showed to make like a few weeks ago. So if you want to find that, to make your own homemade watercolors if you don't have any, because it's just simple ingredients. So let us get started to show you what you need today for our 3D water lilies. So here we have our 3D water lily that we are going to make today. Very pretty, very simple, and I'm going to show you all the steps on how to make that today. So let's get started with what we need. So we are going to start off today with needing 6 sheets of watercolor paper, or if you have we need like 5 or 6 sheets just for extra watercolor paper, or like a heavier cardstock or something. Just if you have anything, because that's what we're going to be using with our pages today. Next, we need our homemade watercolors. So you see, mine are still a little wet just because I've been using them so frequently because I love them so much and they're so fun to paint with. You see I am working on a board of some sort. If you have anything else to work on, some paper towel. I do have some extra paper towel on the side. You will need some water and a paintbrush. And I like to use a larger width paintbrush just to get across more area, just cover more ground. We will need a glue stick, white glue, scissors, a pencil or a pen, deciding what you want, a ruler, and some salt here too. We also will need an extra sheet of just like a thicker cardstock paper, and I will show you why. So now we want to get started with, kind of making all of our layers to our water lily. So first we'll start off with creating our water base. What's really great about watercolors, and I like all the projects that I've been kind of showing, is it's really important about like the process and how we're doing things, and taking the time to let things dry. So it's a really nice kind of practice of patience. So you see we'll need, for water, we'll need the lily pad, and then for the flowers, and then we have like our insert here for the inside. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how we're going to be using. So if you saw even my landscape tutorial from last week, that's really fun too, because we used salt for that, so to make that. So I always like to start off with these kind of adding some water to my paper. So this is the wet on wet technique for watercolors. So what I'm going to do here is just start. So I'm going to make this one a little bit different than my sample one that I just showed you. And what's important too with our watercolors is if you saw, I'm pouring some water in here just to get them a little bit wet. But for the sake of time, I'm mixing them, and I'm just going to go ahead. So remember, like I said, what's really great about watercolors is you can kind of play with them and mix all of them together. So you see I'm just kind of making this back and forth motion, kind of getting it. I really want it to look a little bit more watery. So I'm going to just kind of go back and forth using different shades of blue to make that water. So also, like, to get more saturation or boldness of a color, I'm just not using as much water, but just dipping it right in. So not to just to spread it more, I just want it to be that like blue color. So I'm trying to get the paper or the blue across the whole page, just because we're using the whole piece of paper for our water lily. So, and it is important to keep the paper wet, especially if we're going to be using the salt for the mixture here. So I'm going to just do a little bit more here and there. Get some more color here, get my edges. I really want to make sure I'm going all the way to my edges here. And I think I'm going to just take a little bit of purple and add some nice little accent marks. So you see how I did that. So I was just dabbing my water, or my paintbrush in my water, and now I'm just gonna let it sit in there while so the salt, this is a nice, you know, little technique to use to create some really awesome kind of unique designs in your watercolor paper. And this is nice because since we're kind of looking for water, like a water texture, this is nice because it'll kind of look like maybe like the reflections of things in the water. So it's a nice little addition. So I'm just taking some salt, and it's important for the paper to be wet while you add the salt, but you'll see. And now we're going to let that dry. So we're gonna let it dry. So you see, like in my example one, you see here how awesome that salt made it really look like, you know, but here I wish I kind of maybe added some extra. So you kind of saw how I put the salt all over. So next I want to make our water lily. So that one we are actually going to cut into a circle. So, you know, it's something you want to think about, but I'm just going to maybe work on the like painting in the middle of it. So I'm going to just add a little bit of water to my greens just to get them nice and wet so we can work with them. So if you are using homemade watercolors, like the ones that I showed you how to make, they work, I think, the best if you really get them really soaked to work with. So you see I'm just kind of going, and if you use a lot of baking soda, like I did, it's really interesting because I got to just kind of mash it up. You see I'm mashing it up here, doing that. And it's all right. So I'm just going to paint the middle part here. So kind of adding, and if you want to kind of create more of a water lily texture, I'm going to just kind of pick a middle point and work that way to kind of give that texture of like maybe a water lily pad, to kind of give it that circular motion. So you see, I'm gonna just lightly dab. So I'm mixing my two different colored greens that I made. So you see, I'm kind of going like this here. Kind of like that. And if you really want, I'm gonna maybe just add a little bit more darkerness. So that's nice to add if you have extra colors, if you want to add some accents. Like I just have like different blues and things like that too that can go for greens. So that will be for our water lily. So you can put that to the side along with your water to dry. And if you want to go all the way to the edges of the paper, you can definitely go ahead and do that. But I'm just doing that just for time's sake for this kind of tutorial. So I'm gonna put that off to the side. Now you want to decide what color you want to make your flower, like your water lily. So I, did this like nice orangish yellow, and when I'm going to assemble, I used, I made another one that's going to be pink, so I will show you how that will be. So I'm gonna go ahead and maybe just do the orange again. So, grabbing my new sheet of paper, you want to definitely color and paint the entire page. So this is going to be really important for us. So I'm just going ahead and starting with yellow and orange, and I'm just going to go ahead and start painting. And here, if you really want to really intermix the colors and things like that too, or if you want to do more yellow or more orange, that's really, really up to you, but I'm just blending. So I'm using like a good amount of water and a good amount of color. I'm going back and forth from my water to my color to paint that. So you see how I'm doing that. So that's going to be our two sheets of paper. So we're going to make color two sheets. So because those are going to be our petals. And here I want to make sure I'm going all the way to the edges for this, and that's really why it's good that we're working on something so we're not getting any color like on our table or on any other thing other than our workspace. So you see I'm going all the way to the edges, and then you could definitely do that on your second blank sheet of paper. So I did it mostly yellow, but I'm gonna go ahead and start adding maybe just a little bit of orange, like a deeper gold. I think it looks really pretty, kind of blending it. And you see I'm just kind of taking more water and blending it a little bit better. So you see here, So that will be for my petals. So I want to make sure that I'm going to let this dry. So I'm gonna just put it off to the side. You wanna put your art in a safe place just so make sure no one touches it or anything. And then the next thing we wanna paint is definitely we wanna make our, the inside of our flower. So I actually made this a very light light yellow here. So I just already have this whole sheet painted like a nice pastel yellow. So you can go ahead and do that, or any color that you choose to have like your inside of your water lily. Oops, sorry. And that's up to you on how you want to do that, but I will show you how we're going to create that next. So next I'm going to show you, this is a really important step, so how we're going to create our petals. So you want to create 3 templates for your petals. We want, and you see, this is really great because we're going to go in stages. We have large petals, medium petals, and small petals. So here I made 3 template petals, and what I did to do that is I just kind of made, using my ruler, kind of measured out a 3.5 inch petal, a 3-inch petal, and then a 2.5 inch petal. And what we're going to need is just like, you know, a new piece of paper or thicker, like I kind of use a thicker cardstock to make that. So, you know, what I did to do that is I just laid out my ruler. You can kind of see maybe it's a little too big. So right from 0 to do like a 3.5 inch, the 3.5, like I marked 3.5 and half. So, and then I just create the shape of a petal. So you see I kind of marked 3.5 and creating 2 points, almost looking like an eye, basically a shape here too. So this is where we're going to be gluing. This is just like an extra piece for us to be gluing for our next step. So that's going to be the middle one, or the largest one, and then for our middle petal, I'm gonna mark here for 3 inches, so there, and then I'm gonna mark 2.5 a little bit further away. So very at the top, 2.5. So that's awesome why we have a ruler. So, and you know, this is for you and how you want to make your shape. So if you want to make different shaped petals, maybe kind of give yourself a little bit of a unique touch. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect, you know, that's just as long as you're creating something really great. But you see, I'm kind of just making simple shapes, making an oval and making like an oblong oval looking like an eye or an actual leaf. So, you know, this is where you really want to kind of take your time to and really design, you know, what your petals will look like. So you see how I'm doing that and making then an oval shape. So those are basically you can, and then you can label them large, medium, and small. And then you can go ahead and cut them out. So then, you know, you'll have basically the exact same, you know, what I have to make our petals. So then the next thing we're going to do, because while you're doing that, you know, like our pages, like in our art can definitely dry. So like if you want, you can already start cutting out your petals. So what we're going to need 7 cutouts of each petal. So you can go ahead and you can start taking your pencil and you'll just be able to trace your petals. And you want to do that 7 times. And what's amazing is that you have all this time and it's really about the process. And if you mess up, you know, you're doing it so lightly, you can just erase. And then, so you can make 7 of these, 7 of the medium ones, and then 7 of the small. So once you do that, that's why we did the extra sheets of paper and the extra colors. Even if you want to maybe mix some colors together, you can do that too. But you see, you want to just kind of even place them where you're going to get the most use out of your paper. You know, but if you end up needing extra, you know, it's all right. That's all right. You can just even paint some more, make some more paper if you have extra paper, and make some extra petals. You know, you can even make them larger if you want to, but this is just how we are going to be. So you want to create 7 large, 7 medium, and 7 smalls. But for the sake of time and this project, I already cut them out and I already made 7 of each. So I already have 7 here, 7 here, and 7 here. So you see, I already have them nicely stacked and ready to go for us and what we're going to do next. So the next thing we want to do is I'm going to take my water. So this is my water I already created, you know, dried. We don't have to wait. And next we're gonna see, okay, like where are we gonna put our water lily? So here's my water lily. So I wanna use my green sheet to make a circle. And especially if you watched my mandala videos or anything, there's so many things that we can use to make like a really perfect circle. I actually forgot to grab a bowl, so let me grab a bowl. I'm gonna use a large kitchen bowl to trace. Here we go. So here, I have a bowl, and you want to make something that is going to fit, you know, across the whole page, you know, not all the way edge to edge, because we still want it to show some water, right? And it's the same size. So what's awesome about bowls and things like that around our house is it's already a perfect circle, and all you got to do is just trace it. Voila. So use my pencil, and I traced my circle. So there's going to be our water lily. And the next thing we want to do is we want to cut it out. So, you know, you really want to take your time and kind of watching and following along the line, because it's really important, especially if we want to create a perfect circle. And I'm just going to move a little quickly and following along the line. And if you want to, you can save these bigger pieces for scraps or something like that. Or if you have a trash very close nearby, you know, I really like to just kind of work along and, you know, keep my workspace very clean. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in the trash. And so the next thing we want to do is make it more lily pad-esque. So a lot of the time lily pad has like a little sliver, you know, kind of a slit in the lily pad. So here, that's all we're going to do is we're just going to cut out a triangle in our lily pad. And you can make it as big or as small as you want, but we're just cutting out this triangle. And voila. So there we have it. Our water, our lily pad. Awesome. So here next we are going to use our awesome glue stick. And I'm going to just put my water to the side as I put glue all over. So this is going to be really good because with the glue sticks, you know, the more the better. Kind of really being able to put that glue on there all over, all the way edge to edge, a generous amount, just so we're going to make sure that our lily pad is going to stick to our water. So and then here is where, you know, where you want to place, whatever way you want it to go, how you want it to be, that is up to you. Maybe I will put it right here in the middle. And so here is going to be where you want to put an awesome amount of pressure. And you see I'm kind of slowly putting a lot of pressure and going all around the edge here to make sure the lily pad is going to adhere and stay stuck right on to our water, so that doesn't move at all. So you see I'm just kind of going back over it, really putting a good amount of pressure on here, making sure that that's going to stick. So there we have it. So next is going to be our petals. So after you cut out all of your petals, 7 of each, small, medium, and large, we are going to lay them out, and we're going to be working in steps. So next we want to lay out our large petals. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to just kind of lay them out. You know, you can spread them out as much as you need. And if you actually made extra, if you don't want to do just 7 like petals, you know, that's totally fine too. That's up to you. It's your water lily. You can do whatever you'd like. If you have extra, you want to make them more closer together, maybe more scarce, you know, that is totally up to you. So you see, this is how we're going to be putting it. So there I have laid it out. I think I have enough, 7. And I'm going to just put them back together and leave them right here. And I'm going to start gluing. So put a little bit more glue. And here we are. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit glue. That's why I make that extra tab here. And I'm just going to go ahead and start. So I put the glue. Like I said, the pressure is really good. Pressure is our friend when we're gluing. And voila. So there we have that, and we're going to get started. So we're going to put more glue on the next one. and put them here. So you can kind of see I'm adjusting it too. And what's awesome about glue sticks is they don't dry very quickly, which, you know, works to our advantage, because if we're like, oh shucks, like, you know, I moved that a little too close, so that's not far enough, you know, you can just kind of move that over and kind of redo it. So that's really nice. So you see I'm just taking it, adding more. You can kind of see, ooh, maybe this one's a little too much, so it's all right. So that's why we kind of laid it out to begin with the way that we did. And you see there's my last one. So maybe then there got a little too close, but that's all right. You can just kind of shift all of this over if you really want to. Take it all back and shift them all over like that. There you go. So next we are going to lay out our middle one. So it's really good because that's why we made those extra tabs here. And basically we wanted to make enough to be able to put in between, you know, each petal there. So you see how that's going to work. So let's get started. So using all 7, or if you made more petals, or if you need more petals, you know, that's up to you. But I just made 7 here, and I'm gonna keep going. So making sure I'm putting that pressure as I'm working along, putting a good amount of glue and just moving along. So you see, so it's great because once everything is dry, you can definitely start working a little easier. And that's all right with watercolors too, because, you know, watercolors are like lovely and beautiful. You know, they just have like such, like the paper when you create a piece of art or something just has a long drying time, but that's, you know, that's okay. That's just how, you know, watercolors go. But that's why I like them. You know, it's all really about the process. Awesome. So you see, we have that there. So next we're going to have our middle piece, or our small pieces. So we're going to lay them out, make sure that we have enough, or if we have too many, or if we need more, we'll know. You know, maybe I made a little too much. So instead of maybe using 7, I think I'm going to just use 5. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to take these off, start with the first one. Here we are. So you see, if you are working and you're deciding to change your project, you know, last minute, that's all right. That's your art, and you can do whatever you feel is best, or whatever you think looks really good for the sake of your art. Just like I think I made a good choice by switching my petals to only 5 small ones. But you see, I'm kind of working a little fast. But that's all right, because we're gonna make this as really pretty as I want. There we go. So I got a little bit of glue all over, and that's all right. And you can kind of see a lot of my pencil marks, and that's okay too. I don't really mind that. So I'm gonna put the cap back on my glue stick. That's really important. We don't want our glue to dry out. And I'm gonna put my extra petals off to the side with all of my other extra ones, because I will probably make another one. So next we want to add our little middle piece. So we want to take what we like our yellow like our yellow piece of paper that's dry, and I'm just gonna cut like maybe like a 1/2 inch to 1 inch size strip for all the way from one end to the other. So you see I have the long strip here, and the next thing we want to do is we want to cut, you know, little slits here so we can make them look kind of frilly, almost like little fuzziness. We want to give it that texture, but I'm not going to cut all the way down through. So you see, I'm just taking my time, and we don't want to cut through because we want, you know, everything to kind of stay intact. But I'm just going to move a little quickly. You know, you want to be careful, especially with how close your finger can get to the scissor blade, you know, or if you need an adult to help you, if you don't feel comfortable doing this, that's all right. But you see, I'm just going all the way from one end to the other and taking my time, trying to just to make sure that we have enough time to show you how to finish. Oops, and then I accidentally cut it all the way off. See, we don't want to do that. So I just put that off to the side or threw it in the trash. So what we want to do here is we want to just kind of start rolling it up like this. Really nice and tight here. Kind of, you know, leaving it extra, not too tight, you know, just so we have like a nice little wrapped, you know, thing here. So that's going to be our middle here. So we see that. So that's what our white glue is for. But first, before we do that, I'm going to put that right off to the side. And we want to just, I let it dry just a little bit. Once it is like completely dry, we want to just go ahead and lift the petals up. So I'm going and just holding pressure on the middle there where they're all glued. And I'm just lifting all of the petals up for, we want to give it that awesome 3D water lily effect. You know, we want to give it that. So it's popping out at us. So you can see here, I'm just kind of holding it there and bending it. So we're giving it that 3D effect. So there. So you can kind of see how, and if you want to play with it some more, you can. This is where we're going to use our white glue to attach this middle part here. And if you want to, just like how we kind of bent the petals to make it look 3D, you can kind of bend these parts. So what's nice about the yellow is that you can see the yellow, but it also gives a nice little effect of white too. So I'm just going to put like a generous amount of glue here in the middle. Kind of see if it wants to go. Maybe it doesn't want to go. Interesting. Not sure why. So I'm just going to take off a little bit of a cap, and I'm just going to put like a good amount of glue here in the middle. So I'm putting a generous amount of glue just like how I want, because I want this inside to definitely stay. So here I am. And now we definitely want this to dry 100%. Do you want to leave it overnight or a few hours? You can come back and check on it. But there you have it. So that was our finishing and last touch. So here is my water lily. So now I made two. So here's my orange water lily and here's my pink water lily. So it's really awesome because you can kind of make all the kinds of like flowers you want. Like this is nice because it's a good little practice, and it's nice to even give you some time to think about the process and, you know, kind of work on patience and, you know, making sure that you're doing, you know, what you want and how you want to do it. So we have that's our awesome 3D water lily. So once it fully dries, you can hang it up on the wall, give it as a gift or anything like that. But now is one of my favorite parts is cleanup. So, you know, especially too with our baking soda watercolors, you know, we have a little residue of like baking soda everywhere, which, you know, we want to just take that and brush that right off. But you see, I'm going to just grab like all of my extra sheets of paper and, you know, really kind of wipe everything down. I have, you know, spill out that, put everything together. I have my little cup, you know, that I always use to keep all of my important things like my pens and my paper and, or my pens and my pencils. And, you know, and just brushing everything. So I'm going to just take that right off and brush it into the garbage. It's really important. We want to make sure everything is clean. And just, again, with the watercolors, you want to let them dry out to store them. But, you know, like if you used an ice cube tray or, you know, something like these little containers, you want to make sure that they dry out before you put them fully away. So I'm just going to leave everything right together and right open like that. And leave all that here. But there you have it. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me today. And if you make a water lily, please don't hesitate to post that or to send us an email with the water, like your 3D water lilies. And if you used your homemade watercolors, let us know too. We'd love to see that. Yeah, but thanks for hanging out with me today. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Stay tuned to hang out with Miss Rachel, and we'll see you guys all next week.